what was earlier thought to be what it will be would not be again. So there is a considerable deterioration in the assumptions made in the original budget. Secondly, it's as a result of higher fuel and electricity subsidy. That is proven by the statement made by the minister, especially the skyrocketed increment in the payment of electricity, for electricity. Also, the reason is because of the revenue shortfall. We've had clearly that the projections made earlier are not going to be achieved. So a new projection has been made, and on that new projection, there is going to be a considerable reduction in the revenue. And also, the essence is the reduction of domestic capital expenditure. Like we have all alluded, one of the major problems we have is to ensure that we don't collect revenue effectively, or we give too many waivers to too many people. Mr. Speaker, in one of the debates that I recently participated in, I spoke against giving too many waivers. There is a company that we gave, in fact, we passed an agreement here, and we gave the company waiver. And for over 3 years, the company did not do anything but was using the waiver. So meaning a lot of waivers are misused and they are not properly monitored. And the Ministry of Finance will always find it difficult to appropriate money that they don't have. They are not, what is the name of the company who prints your money? Thomas de la Rue, eh? They are not Thomas de la Rue. So when you tell them to appropriate certain amount that they don't have, they find it extremely difficult. Extremely difficult. So you should always create the way, you create the opportunity for them to be able to get the money that they will appropriate. So that is why I pity them in some cases. Because you ask a man for a car when he does not even have the goods. So what he would end up doing is to go to bank borrowing. And bank borrowing is very serious so far. From all of the estimations that we've done, all of what we've seen, there has been a skyrocketed increment just in bank borrowing. Mr. Speaker, what is also concerning is the increase in deficit. Deficit is substantially increased. The deficit including grants, rises from 4.4 billion to 5.2 billion. What accounts for the increment in deficit? It's because there is a reduction in revenue and there is a corresponding increment in expenditure. So the deficit would definitely be increased. So the deficit, including grant, rises about 5.1% of our entire GDP. This clearly shows that the fiscal position is more fragile than what the headline is saying. Because our budget, as far as now is concerned, is heavily dependent on grants. Heavily dependent on grants. So as a nation, we should be concerned. We should try to the best of our ability to ensure that we take care of our budget and we cut our coats according to our size. What is also worrisome is the oil shocks in the budget. Government presents a case as if the Middle East crisis and the higher oil prices are the main reasons for the supplementary budget. Thank you. Welcome. You are not here. So there was no one that told. Yes. So that was the picture that we're giving, that the Middle East crisis and the higher oil prices are the main reason for this supplementary budget. But Mr. Speaker, when you go to the budget, there are increments in other areas in this supplementary budget. One of the increments is the special residential warrant, the central executive offices, security institutions, and the summit. So government should separate expenditure directly caused by the oil shocks from expenditure arising from our domestic policies. This is very critical. It is very critical, and government ought to do that. Mr. Speaker, I am happy of what the Honorable Fomoyamba said when he had the opportunity. He spoke about the impact of Fifth Salon. And according to him, UNDP, is it UW, that is World Food Program, WFP, is now refusing to import food. Instead, they are depending on the food produced in Sierra Leone, which is laudable. Yeah, that is it. Whatever terminology you use, it's the same. So we are happy that instead of going out, they are dependent on what we produce as a nation. But from this supplementary, it is clear that Fifth Salon is being cut despite being credited for economic growth. The speech credits Fifth Salon with contributions to economic growth in 2025. And we have all recognized that. We have all acknowledged that. Yet, development allocations falls from 442 million that was put for Fifth Salon, 442 million, to only 75 million. It's serious. An hungry nation is an angry nation. We cannot cut a program that has been accredited, a program that everybody has, we have had a lot of speeches here in Parliament that have applauded government initiative. And now we are reducing it from 442 million to only 75 million. And we have not even moved yet from the World Hunger Index. We are one of the hungriest nations. So we should be spending more on food, cultivating our own food, than reducing it. They said success is another form of failure if you don't prioritize your priority. You may be succeeding in other areas, but failing in your priority is very concerning. So the cuts in feed salon account for 80% cuts. It's as if government is writing off feed salon. We are saying no, we are no longer interested in feeding our people. Let the people go and find their own food for themselves. Or let them continue to import. So this is what is up, Mr. Speaker. The crocodile. I read the penny. The crocodile. Crocodile, the percent for carry plan. That's it true, Mr. Speaker. So we should be concerned as a nation. We notice that from this budget, agriculture is reduced during food and inflation crisis. So when we have a crisis in food, we have a crisis of inflation, we should invest in agriculture. Feed salon, we should invest in it. One of the elements of inflation, one of the springboard of inflation, one of the influencers of inflation is the price of food, prices of food. Remember, we are at 4.4%, and today we are at 14%. So if you cut down on agriculture, you cut down on feed salon, it means there will be a very high projection for inflation.
Without the opposition, you promised.
I'll round up. Mr. Speaker, I'll round up.
I'll be grateful.
Yes, I'm rounding up. On the note of Mr. Speaker, for me to round up, I will also talk about something that is very important. The medical supplies that has also suffered a severe cut. The National Medical Supplies Agency falls from 64.4 million to 17.5 million. This is a reduction of nearly 73%. If you cut food, you cut medical. How can you protect the people as per the theme of this supplementary budget? Let me read the theme again. The theme says, strengthening budget credibility to safeguard macroeconomic stability and protect livelihood of citizens. How can you protect the livelihood of citizens when you cut on agriculture and you cut on medical supplies? It exposes citizens. We know what our citizens suffer in the hospital. We know what they lack in the hospital. So if you want to protect the livelihood of citizens, salon man out for food, make sure say eat, make sure say get medicine, make sure say buy food, then it's okay. How you run the country in a business. But this is what is up, that we are having a considerable reduction in agriculture, we are having a considerable reduction in medical supplies, and we are having a considerable increment in the office of the chief minister. So how does that protect the livelihood of the ordinary Sierra Leonean? How? When the chief minister's office is not a service delivery office. It's in the budget. Not a service delivery. Tell me what services they deliver. They don't. In fact, most of the functions of that office overlaps with other ministries, departments, and agencies. And you cut feed salon by over 70%. You cut medical supplies by over 73%. And you say it's geared towards the livelihood or protecting the livelihood of the citizens. How does that office protect the livelihood of the citizens? How? How does it? I will be here. The crocodile. So it's serious, Mr. Speaker. How will hospitals and health facilities receive adequate drugs, medical supplies under such reduction, especially in this second half? It will be difficult. When you go to the annexes and you read the speech, you will notice that the equality school education and school feeding, they say it will continue. However, the annex show reduction in some of education and school feeding lines. Considerable reduction. So it's serious, Mr. Speaker. I have always held to very high esteem the staff and the minister at the Ministry of Finance. That is why, in all I'm saying, I would never castigate them, because they are not Thomas de la Rue. If they were Thomas de la Rue, they would be spending all the night printing more monies. But in a situation where they don't have sufficient money and the request is very abundant, they themselves find themselves in very difficult circumstances. In a situation where the gaps, where revenues are accumulated, they are strangulated to the extent that we do not have enough revenue, then you make their work very difficult. Very, very difficult. So for me, Mr. Speaker, I want to advise that government places priority where it is needed. There are some expenditures that are very unrealistic. Very unrealistic. Let us make sure that we protect, as in the theme of this budget, let us make sure that we protect the livelihood of the ordinary citizens. Make drugs available to them. Don't cut medical supplies. Increase the medical supplies so that if Mamiebu at the village is sick, Mamiebu will be treated. Mr. Speaker, we have a good number of people who are dying because of lack of medical attention. So we should be investing more in that area instead of spending in offices that the leader of government business would not want me to call, which is the chief minister's office. This is the last time I'll call it. I will not call it again. Yes. It's in the budget. It's in the budget. It's in the budget. Even the secretary to the president, his budget is increased by over 70%. Yes. And we call it a proper budget. We call it a budget that is protecting the livelihood of the ordinary citizens. I have not seen the nexus. I have not seen the connection. I have not seen the connection. I have not seen the connection. I want to thank the staff at the ministry. I want to thank the minister who is working exceptionally hard. Had we not gotten this kind of minister, as at now, even the exchange rate would have been very problematic, and we would have lost that of everything. We would have lost that of everything had it not been there. So I want to recognize their expertise. I want to encourage them to be people-centric, and I also want to advise the second arm that influences the allocation, which is the political arm. But you are just coming. Which is the political arm. I said the budget is influenced by two factors. One technical, second political. The technical may have the expertise, but when the political comes in, they interrupt. And the political does not even want to know where the technical gets before they just impose. I pray that Sierra Leone becomes the home we all dream of. I want to thank you, and I pray that pass it to you.
Thank you very much, leader of the opposition. Leader of government business. Would you belong? Or would you be with the capital?
I believe my minister. So I will try to be
your minister to respond.
I will sustain in some of these things that you have proposed. But thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. All colleagues who have contributed in a positive way to this budget, thank you very much. And even when the minister has tried to be very open, in line with Section 112, of course, you cannot do it without Section 110 of the Constitution. He has tried to be very transparent, very honest man, dealing with this economic process. My colleagues are presenting a story as if they left us with diamonds, billions, as if they left us with the World Bank to manage the economy of this country. But they left us with a policy of prosperity and they left us in poverty. Very poor system.
So that's the news and poverty.
That's what you have called. When I was in the opposition, I dreamt of having a very good life when he introduced the policy of prosperity. He forced us to accept prosperity. And prosperity, you don't tell me that my life has been prospered, or my life has prospered, or I'm about to prosper. I have to say it. So they had agenda for prosperity. And he forced us on us, shoved it in our throat for us to accept. You know what I know my colleagues on the other side for? Big jargons. Economic jargon that are not realistic at all. I mean, far from that. You know, there are times when you have to speak the truth. I have said, let us change the donation of what is happening. You are not gone away from saying the truth. If you have read this budget, if you listen carefully what he has read to us, he is within the bracket of actually explaining to us why he's here, why it should be in all of these. You are not saying it's just cutting down on expenditure or increased expenditure. There are so many challenges because we did not fix it. When some people ruled us for 24 years, they didn't fix anything. They left us in maladministration. And we forgot that we had war. And we forgot that when Pakaba left, he left a huge chunk of money, whether it's going to be in a proper form or debt relief, but we left so much money. When they came, they introduced income inequity to fix this energy sector. And they went on to corruption, and the minister was taking to anti-corruption. And you know, we are not living in a hurry. We are very careful not to agree. And I follow my brother very well. It's not a pressing moment. Since I go back to all of his budget that I presented to this house, we have been very transparent in trying to address the core issues that have to do with our economic problems. If you have read the fiscal strategy document from 2018, he was not there. By then, he was not attached to the ministry. From 2018 to 2023, and you take the other one, you read for fiscal strategy document from 2023 to 2028, projecting. You will know that they are very honest people. Now, people have forgotten to note that when you talk about factors in economic play, there are internal factors, there are external shocks. I will come to that. Yeah, I explain all of these things. But when we stand to speak, we speak as if he has the magic to fix his economy that has been destroyed with one set of people for over 30 years. One set of people, far less than that. That is the projection we are giving the nation. I don't go in that direction. I will go strictly say so with what we have. But I mean, government is continuity, whether you like it or not. First, when you talk about the import cover, in 2007, you know, it was 4.5 per month, the import cover. Many people get the value of that. So you have said there was a little bit of that in 2007 from Pakaba's days. We bless him memory. And when we came to 2018, where we took over, it did not meet the standard that Pakaba left it. That's why when we are talking about fiscal discipline, more standing in economic expenditure. In fact, President Yo, we have the FS with us. He has been in ministry for a very, very long time. The expenditure that used to be for president for daily expenditure, it was drastically reduced for President Liu. He started a fiscal discipline. The success that you are seeing today started with the man himself, President Liu. That daily expenditure that they used to give you 500 million per week, you travel to Makini and give you huge amount of money. He said, no, let us reduce. Half was given. It's on record. Go to Dingy and other. They produce records. We started our fiscal discipline. Let me tell you, the first project, I remember, we said we are not going to, at this time, resort to bank borrowing. In the supplementary budget that was led by J.J. Safari, Mr. J.J. Safari, we said, we accepted, we are going to create a single treasury account to maintain fiscal discipline because there was too much of indiscipline in the fiscal section. And we use the economic platform to remove them out of governance. We use it effectively. And we said, for now, we are not going to resort to bank borrowing. And we stated that one. So, talking about leaving the import cover for 4.5 per month, and when they are going, it's about between 3 to 3.5. Then in 2018, we met it there. So there is a drastic reduction for a month's difference in that import cover. That's why they said now we are depleting the reserve, we are depleting it. I mean, we are not living in the worry. Let us make some economic analysis and proper reasons. Because Mr. Minister sitting here, he has not told us it's a rocket science for us to fix the economy. He said you have to maintain the economic variance for you to control inflation, for you to talk about total generation of your domestic revenue. And in fact, he has profiled. He said in paragraph 45, I am going to have a performance contract with NRA. He has not run away from it. He is saying the truth, also the truth. For project at SFP, we are going to fix, we are not increase healthcare of this percent, we are drastically reduced, allow us to roll out economic policies, which have benefited this country. When we started education, they cried us down. When, this is a very interesting country. When students are passed with high grades, they will come to him to say, oh, in fact, why are they passing too much? When we are doing well, we started with domestic, using the fiscal discipline. We mobilize domestic revenue to roll out the free and quality education. So then we are benefiting from that. That one is stable now. And we come to how do we roll out? Well, we are deciding to take from that percentage and we are going to fix the economic sector in other places to benefit. So let me continue with this import cover that you said we left for Prakabas days 4.5%, 4.5 months. And also in the days of the former president, they left between 3 to 3.5 months. Now, if you go down to the bank and you talk to the minister and the team, before the COVID, in fact, I can give justification for the previous administration. You know why they reduced to 3 to 3.5 months for the import cover? It's because of the Ebola. These are factors affected us so much. We shut down this country for a very long time because of the Ebola. So we face reality. These are things that happen. And these are factors that will shake the economy. Mr. I don't know the actual cost now. Maybe the minister will respond to that. SO2, if you lock for today, you give for the day, you don't collect revenue. You are losing millions of dollars. Millions. And when I'm talking about millions, all of us talk about the new currency. So sometimes you just say, we shut down for several days just to cover the Ebola crisis we have. And it was not because of maladministration. We refused to listen to professionals. And we said, no, no, politics will give back. I mean, that cost us so much damage. So I can give justification for the import cover while the reduction before they left office. Now, if you look at before COVID, you can realize that we are something like 5.8 months in terms of the import cover. 5.8 months. That is clear. But post-COVID, that's why we are starting. We are going this way and we are recovering. Countries are not recovering today. Since the COVID came, America, big economy. Big economy, talk about the Americans, they talk about America, they talk about China, they talk about Germany. So the recovery period was huge. We have not examined those variables. We just stand to speak. Well, why are we there? Import cover, depleting the reserve. Why are we doing this? Have we studied the intra-economic variables and the external economic variables that are affecting us? No. Let us be informed by data. Let us be informed by data. What we have not done, we have not listened, bring out the data. Yes, Mr. Minister, this is reduction. What was the cause? For us, before the import cover reduced to 2.20 monthly, it's because of the post-COVID recovery. Go to the bank governor. He will tell you so much that is happening. Who is in charge of the reserve? It's the bank governor sitting here. He tells you so much. We should be informed by data. This political statement, because we want to win the gallery, we should stop. We have not fixed our economy for over how many years? Independent. We don't want to go to history. Your business in governance is to make sure you fix what has been broken. And what has been broken in this country is bad governance administration for over how many years? One set of people ruling us. And now we are talking to us to play magic to fix everything. So I don't want us to do that correction. But let's just look at inflation. Paragraph 4, paragraph 19. Mr. Minister, first let me commend you. Yeah? Let me commend you. Let me commend the bank governor because they are the pivotal in terms of looking at the inflationary rate. I want anybody to Google where there is no people are not fighting inflation. There is inflation all over the world. The question will not happen. That is why I said when they talk about the fiscal strategy document, they said we will reduce, and they started following it. We reduce. They are still double digit at that time. They said at this time we reduce the inflation rate from this time to this time and so amount. If we are to 20%, we'll come down to 10%, we'll come down to 11%. Before the last budget, when at monthly we are at single digits. We reduce to something where as far as something like 11 to 11% in terms of fighting inflation. So when we came here, remember in my statement, after it was a supplementary, I said monthly, before this crisis going on now, I said we have a monthly inflation at single digits, annual double digits, but reduce one. Reduce. So let me refer to two paragraphs. They are saying we are still fighting inflation, but they are giving factors why we are fighting inflation. First, we have the external shocks. Nobody fear fight in the Middle East. And fear crisis is an influential commodity. It's a really essential and influential commodity. Play both the livelihood of people and also the politics of it. So you see, in fact, look at what is happening. Anytime you hear the President Trump talking about, we are going to cease fire, the oil price will fall, the crude oil will start to go down. But when he says, we are going to strike Iran, automatically after 2 days you see oil price down. So there's huge politics playing because this commodity is a political commodity. He is playing with the market. No matter how you look about it. Now, 2 days ago they said they are not going to bomb Iran for 2 days. And you saw the price coming down. Now it's really no biggie because they are bombing each other. We have looked at studying the economic factor, the external factor. We all those things about inflation is now start to shout. How has that been honest? Mr. Speaker, I don't intend to stay too long because these issues are plain forward. They are very plain. They are straight to us. Let me just take you to inflation in paragraph. Now, let me read it. Inflation, which had fallen to 4.1% in December 2025, rose to 8.1% in February. I took it out this year. 10.2% in March, and further to 14.8% in June 2026. So you see the trend. Let's go to this stand out all these stats. In February, you see, Mr. Minister, what they have not followed you is when you make economic policies, they go at the back of your index analysis of what you are doing, try to judge it has gone up. No. Before you go to the back of the budget, read the policies. The policies will inform you about the figures. Then when there is increment in figure, you don't check, let me go back to the policies. Let me continue. Yeah? He said, if I have not to grade you for honesty in your economic analysis, I will give you 85%. Yes, because they are really trying. All of you. They are not too far, and we are not living in the world. They are all 85. You're right across the bank governor and your team, all of you in this class, 85%. Now let me go. Drinking largely by increase in fear, transportation and rental costs. If they tell you insurance leads to transport fear through the Strait of Hormuz, you cannot believe it. it is just a slight thing that we cannot cope with. But you know what you have done? Our, policies, when policies are genuinely rolled out, when we said we want to liberalize the petroleum market, people are shouting, oh, how can we do it? How fix it? You know we are not suffering too much. We have liberalized the petroleum market in this country. We are trying as much as we can to make sure that we depoliticize this particular petroleum product as a political commodity. But it cannot work because of the external factors, which I have stated inter alia, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if I go further, and they said, based on the IMF reference scenario, which assumes that oil price will average to 8.90 per barrel in 2026. Inflation is projected to rise during the year before falling to 11.6% by December 2026. So you see the fluctuation in the inflationary rate, and they have given the factor what is responsible for this inflationary rate. Mr. Minister is subsidizing. Now, you remember in 2 years down the line, you are under first-time scrutiny and your team that you should not subsidize for fear. You came here, you increased the fear rate. You removed it, everybody was shouting. It's not good for before the general election. You remove it, and they say you should not subsidize. Today, when you are subsidizing, are you querying by IMF? Because they have questioned. They have said the oil price will go up 8.6% per barrel towards December 2026. We are not too far from December. We are not transiting to August. These are some of the economic factors that we are talking about. If you want to build a strong house, you have to check the foundation. So in the stabilization of the economy, you look at economic policies. Are they working? Now, we have examined that. I will not bore you with reading about paragraph 4, because that's also supporting the inflationary rate. But I want to say, all man at the world, SO2, they fight inflation. China, they are fighting. America, big economies, they are doing this. What is wrong with us? People that think they are playing, we want to play magic, denying the minister say there is inflation. Has he denied? He has not denied. He has not. Mr. Speaker, let me go to the other one. The services domestic debt. The issue why the service domestic debt are external debt. External debt is not managed. For domestic debt, now they mesmerize the economy. Oh yes. Today, if you inject, you want revenue, and you inject to pay your domestic debt, your contractors. If I pay one contractor, I have to, let me say I pay 90% of all domestic debt. The economy is always mesmerized. People will stand dancing. They will pay people. You will see everything will come. They have not changed from that. They have not changed from that. They say there are challenges, but they are still trying to manage the domestic and external debt. He has elucidated clearly on that. He has taken his time to narrate the story. But let me just take one paragraph so people can understand. Paragraph 7 on domestic debt release. And he said, paragraph 7, Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I am also pleased to report that the rate of public debt accumulated moderated to 6.1% in 2025 and from 9.8% in 2024, reflecting strong fiscal adjustment and effective debt management. You know, anytime he was talking about trying to fix up the economy, he will give an adjective. He said, an effective fiscal management. There is no way you are going to service your debt if you cannot take care of the fiscal stability or fiscal discipline, or look at the variables that you take care of. If you don't take care of specific variables that switch in the back and how do you stabilize the economy, it will take you so many, they have been attacked. But they know, with his team, right from the bank governance team to the Ministry of Finance, they are all trying to fix this one so we can get a stable economy. Now they said public debt stood at $3.3 billion, decreasing as a ratio to GDP to 44.7% in 2025, from 8.4% in 2024 and 49.9% in 2023. You see, they are very crafty. Before this factor, talking about the fight and the Middle East, the oil price went up, paying for subsidies. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Minister, paying for subsidies is not something cheap. The money is huge, which you have stated. It's not any cheap business. It's not a luxury. No government wants to spend on something that is really not getting much from. How can Mr. Mason be so wicked, think he wants to pay subsidy for people? No. He is not like that. He is trying to say there are external factors we have to reckon with. The only way we can fix it is to pay fuel subsidy. And they are saying about pro-poor. This budget is pro-poor. If you can pay fuel subsidy, and subsidy that is an influential commodity, you taking care of the fuel subsidy, it has a then, it will take care of the effect that is going to make you strenuous. But if fines push in for the fuel, which are influential commodity, have to do with the livelihood of people, I think the budget is going towards pro-poor. I will come to that clearly and give you, like they did for the macroeconomic budget performance in 2020, where they talk about the QUA. They injected billions of money the own money to make sure that there's essential commodities in the market. He has also secured it there. It's also there. Because of this economic shock we are getting, this war in Iraq we are talking about, they are made provision for essential commodities to stay in the market. I will come to that very soon. But let's go to external debt. He said, if you the figures, I don't really want to read more because of time. If you just look at the figures, before 2026 February, this February, you see the way they are dealing with the public debt. They have been very systematic going down because they know that when all things be equal, they will be well. But because of they are now coming to pay subsidy, and let me tell you why they are paying extra. I initially questioned them, why are you paying for extra? Those in the private sector, they are making huge amounts of money in the factories and other things. Why do you pay subsidies? Because they want to maintain some stability in the system, the economic system. If you don't pay for the PPP arrangement at ESA, you got the correction. But it's not a real advantage. Why do you do it for people? Why do you for subsidize? When I come to that to talk about the subsidy for ESA, I have my own personal view. I don't think it's wholly subscribed to pay for subsidy for ESA. We should be able to analyze where do we pay subsidy? Why do we not pay subsidy here for ESA to operate? Because we are looking at such an arrangement that will fit us so that we can manage the economy and the livelihood of people. Mr. Speaker, honorable members. Now, it's a strong fiscal consolidation. I really don't want to dwell on that much. But everything we are talking about, post-COVID recovery plans. Mr. Minister, he just made reference to it about post-COVID. As I speak, we are still having a shock of post-COVID of the effects of the COVID. We are just like we had the shock from Ebola. We did not stabilize as much, and now COVID came in. We are still dealing with the post-COVID recovery program. And if you are talking about those issues that we need to solve, you have to bring out policies, real economic variables that are really needs to be stable for us to control the economy. Very to control our economy. If you don't bring them, if you don't introduce fiscal consolidation, if you don't introduce strong fiscal policies, there is no way you're going to do it. Now, Mr. Speaker, why fiscal consolidation? Talking about the GDP performance, talking about the post-COVID in China for the first time. He is talking about the surplus. You are giving a strong indicators. Why do we need to talk about the surplus of 1.3% of GDP in 2025? These are all things that, when all things being equal, they are compatible with talk about the post-recovery program. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, let me now talk about the climate finance. Climate finance. You know, it's a smart one. Today, climate financing is hitting us good, bad. And in the Paris Agreement, we are a vulnerable country. Sierra Leone is between the first 5 countries that are vulnerable in terms of climate change. So there are some agreements that we have passed, we have signed. Mr. Minister knows better than I do that we need to enhance climate finance. It's telling on us. If the big 5 things are talking about agricultural productivity, if you really want to enhance productivity, our livelihood, we have to address the issue of climate change. We need to pay attention to climate finance. There is no way we are now going to look at pure productivity in our sector if we don't really study the climate effect on us. So what he has done, let me just make a quick reference how to deal with it. Paragraph 12 said, let me just read the last line in terms of climate financing. He said the program we support, that is the macro performance under the International Monetary Fund, IMF program. Let me just take you to the last effect. After he has done, he said, Resilience and Sustainability Facility, RSF, amounting to 211.5 million to be disbursed between June 2025 and December 2027. The program will support our efforts in mitigating and adapting the climate changes. If we are vulnerable as we are now to climate change, we don't take certain lines to make sure that if we take our time to curb climate change and the short that climate change. As I speak, the farming system, in fact, in talking about agricultural productivity, climate change is greatly affecting it. And we have to address it using the World Bank program, the IMF conditionalities. That's what we do. And he said, the third review in the same paragraph 12. He said the third review of our performance in June 2025 triggering the disbursement of 31.7 million in addition to the 75.8 million disbursed in December 2025 as budget and balance of payment support. Furthermore, the IMF Executive Board approved government requests for another program for resilience and sustainability. These are all talking about how do we handle climate, because in the order of the day, you are financing for social to mitigate the effect of it. If we are talking about agricultural, in other areas, climate change, environmental factors, we must pay attention to climate financing. I feel those who are the great emitters destroying the climate, and some are running away, some are saying they don't believe in it, but we should go all out. So what you have done, Mr. Minister, is to push the World Bank IMF so that we can get some resources from climate change, and from climate change we solve other issues affecting us. So he has given us a grip of the analysis of the review that we have done. In the second half of the review that we have received, in the third half of the review that we have received, stated them clearly in our budget. So climate financing is something we have to reckon with. It's just the best that we can do. If you talk about agricultural productivity, you have to address the issue of climate change. If you have to talk about reduction in the risk of human survival, today we are seeing it happening. This is the rainy season. August is coming. Mr. Minister, you have to empower sectors that we will have to mitigate climate change, like the Disaster Management Agency, the Ministry of Environment. These are areas that you need to inject money. And even the agricultural sector, if you want to go to Tomago, you don't talk about irrigation. You want to have a good yield in productivity. What do we do in terms of climate change? So climate finance is essential for the big fire, especially agricultural activities and even our livelihood. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, there is this one that we don't make compromise. I have decided to leave it. Maybe in my wrap, let me just cut it off to round it up. The GST. The GST. First, people are blaming that we are giving away GST, as if when we are negotiating, we don't think about surrounding. Let me first commend you that when you came in governance, you tried to review most of the waivers. We are poor countries. Why are we behaving as if we are really rich? We are operating cash budget. Cash budget. And so to which we get now to spend. In fact, when they are about to pay salaries, since the days of Shaka Stevens, in fact, they are better enough. We have times where they can't pay salaries. Less than 10, 11 years down the line. We stay months. They will say, oh, we'll wait. They will pay half, Mr. Speaker. They will pay half and they will say, wait, we'll pay the other sector. By the time you get to the end of the other month, people they are still about to pay the other salary for the last month. Why are we behaving as if we don't know what is happening? He is now saying, and that's what we should do, that if we are ready to go to have moral fiscal discipline, and he has not delivered to us as if he is a hypocrite. He has been very open. The issue of GST, and when you give me review of some of these agreements, we're not giving away. It's a way of incentive. It's an incentive, Mr. Speaker. We are not giving away as if we are crazy. In fact, there are caveats. We have placed caveats in agreements where we think we use the GST as a bargaining chip for incentive so that people can invest. You know, we have this private government partnership. And one such agreement that we passed in this house, Mr. Minister, let me read. People are saying, recently we passed the government principle. I used it because somebody mentioned it. the joint venture agreement between Ministry of Information and Civic Education and the Damini DMO printing groups. Tax under the rubric 5 tax waiver and exemption. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Members, permit me to read this provision. And we have to pay keen attention. GST is not problem. For every agreement under the leadership of Mr. Minister, we are giving care that it's just a limited time. It's not forever. So NRA is charged with the responsibility to monitor how long we are giving the tax waiver to last. What they are doing, when they give tax waiver, and that is the right. That is when I started with talking about debate, I mentioned section 110 of the Constitution, alteration of taxes, giving tax waivers to people. Now, they said, there shall be a grant of tax exemptions and waivers covering import duty on all goods, bracket, materials and equipment, corporate income tax, and all other tax obligations relating to the activities of this agreement. Part A is the government. Part A is the government in this agreement. Deemed necessary for a period of 10 years. They said, deemed necessary. They will give tax waiver. Part A, the government will give tax waiver. Deemed necessary for a period of 10 years. So they are not saying it's forever the lifespan of the agreement. In fact, for the 10 years, they will check. It's going to do with equipment or not. They will say, no, we are not going to accept. Mr. Speaker, let me tell you when I was over there, between 2007 and 2012, and that they came with tax waivers, household furniture, talking about things that have nothing to do with the investment programs. I had to question them. Why do you talk about furniture? Why do you talk about things that are not particular to the agreement? They said that well number will pass. And I told them in my submission that Ajax should collapse before the end of the site term. And indeed, Ajax collapsed before the end of between 2007 to 2012. So in our own administration, we are not perfect. We are not perfect. There is complete shock at NRA in terms of GST. Maybe they will be doing areas better in other areas. We are making too much exhausting customs as if it's the only point you can collect that. But let me tell you, if you manage our GST very well. And he has said 10,000 electronic machines are now available for them to be used. You have population in Abuja, over 20 million people are living in Abuja. But you go to the market women, they are using the cash register machines to collect GST. Mr. Speaker, every day, every minute we pay for GST. If we only concentrate in a true discipline, stricto sensu, to collect GST, we cannot go this minister and talk about cash budget. Trust me, this is the real truth, not the end for the truth. Only GST can save us. Mr. Minister, Mr. Speaker, GST is every minute activity. When I say this to you, you go to the shops, just along this model, check the shops we have. If there's any cash register machines, we are paying, every day price goes up. I pay 10,000 euros. But if I pay 10,000 euros, 1 year should come to the government. Multiply 8,000 transactions per day with 1 euro. How much you can get for every day? That is what is happening in America. You go to the mall, you go to the shops, you go everywhere, you pay GST every minute transaction. GST now minute transaction. But this is reckless of us. They used to say, I will put a minister on a body for saying, we will not perform. NRA is not performing on a GST. They are not. They are not rouser in terms of revenue collection. They are not rouser. Yes, they are. I have no regrets in saying it. NRA is a complete mess in terms of GST. Let me tell Mr. Minister, we know the act very well. Yeah, there will be a time movement motion go after NRA. First, I can understand his frustration. He said in this document, I'm not going to bother to read, 10,000 electronic cash machines. 10,000. And he said GST is underperforming. He has not given out anything to say, I'm giving you this to consume. No, he has given us the truth, not to echo the truth for GST. Mr. Speaker, GST alone can take care of some of our problems. And we've changed this dollar grant issues coming out, conditionalities. We are making ourselves for $20-30 million when we can raise that 1 year with GST. And somebody gave a good analysis, the chairman, about 30 billion is cost our budget. What costs us to GST alone can raise, if not 80% or 70%, at least half of that can save us. It's not any secret. Class budget now the wrong. When they are paying salaries now, every other things come to stand now. Because NR is underperforming in terms of GST. He has not kept that under the table. He has exposed it, said GST is not performing. And that is what we are relying on. And when we give tax favors, that is an incentive for us to encourage a private public government partnership. Yes. And it's a limited time given to us. It's a limited time given to us. When we leave this place, they will start to tell us, I will not mend them politicians, I will put up the river. And let me say the least, they are conniving with those who pay GST. Because if you don't have monitors, tax monitors, to make sure you're in compliance with taxes for GST, they should arrest you, prosecute you. There should be GST court. All of this, if to multiply the population, we have, say, this western area, you get to Abata Street, you get to Kisiru, you get to Wafo Street, calculate those shops, even the market, if everybody is sitting in the street, you don't need, but the rates are GST. 2 little, 1 little. Just do rough estimate what you get from GST. Not by sitting down. If actually GST is taken, Mr. Speaker, you can collect in less than 5 hours. You can collect 1 billion. Actually, then old money I'm talking about, new money, 1 million. You can collect it. See, if you are really serious, really monitor the implementation of the GST. I admire the former commissioner. I'm not biased. I saw him at Vacancy Road in shops. By right, he was not supposed to do it. But he sent some kind of shock to the business people that we are going to change the GST. Just after that, they left, people start to compromise. Well, where are those machines? I went by there's a place by 91 gas station. I bought some at the mini-mart. And I asked the guys using calculators. When you guys said, GST produces. And I called one of the commissioners. I said, these guys here, these are their doing. There's one MP tell me, when you go for transaction, are you giving me GST receipt? In fact, if you don't, I just come, you force them to give it. Oh, Mr. Speaker, what are all this for? All this jargon we are speaking. You don't confirm healthcare 22%, we have reduction in it. Nothing is hidden, Mr. Speaker. I'm not want to go to figure. Nothing is hidden. What we should help the minister as members of parliament, how do we enforce? GST is our biggest challenge. GST is our biggest challenge. And we come, this traditional collection of taxes, custom duty. I've told the minister and his team, automation. I've started this over 3 years ago. Let us automate. But even the one that you have brought the cash register machines, they are fitted in it. Now we are talking about automating the system at port. How do you expect people to take it? Port clearance in China with a population of over how many billion people? You think you have to go every day to the port? No. It's an automated system. If you take the hands off people, if you take people's hands off, the human touch, trust me, every day we can collect billions in old money, millions in new money. The human touch should be used. The human touch should be used. And all of this, Maputo declaration for agriculture is 10% of GDP. Now, the way they are talking about, we did not reduce health GDP. No. For education, we are 22%. Health increased. So we want to take health for GDP, Mr. Minister can react to that. Now we want to take it to 22, 25 as it is may be. For me, I believe in projection. The way I believe in projection, it's only in projection that you can look at for the economic variable factors. Oh, I cannot achieve the projection. You anticipate economic future. Yes, a good economist project the future. So you can guide yourself. Now let me come to two factors the propos. 2020, macroeconomic budget performance. When we introduced the Quad, they said we are going to fail. They said we will fail. To make sure that we maintain essential commodities in the market. So that we cannot short of goods that will cripple our economy. What happened? They introduced over 500 billion in the old money. 500 billion. So that they encourage the business community to import most goods and leverage certain taxes so that essential goods cannot go scarce in the market. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, as I speak here, we did not short of essential commodities. Even after COVID, we are still have them in huge stock. These are some of the things that you predict. That's why I said it should be futuristic in terms of dealing with your economy. Now, coming to this one, somebody said the budget is not broke. This budget is broke. Let me read something to you that they are doing for maintaining the essential commodities in the market. This thing at the Middle East is not going to end soon. It's not going to end soon. They are playing politics with the economy with the people. That's how we agree. Now let me take you where the minister is very magnanimous with his team that we are pro-poor. We budget is pro-poor. Under the revised expenditure projections. You see?
Are you still going to belong?
No, I'm not going to. I'm not going to. He said,
you are a real leader of government business.
He said, Mr. Minister, Mr. Speaker, permit me to go read this portion. You know why? You see, people are tired about economic jargon. Maybe you will talk about GDP from this is also 10% from this. They are not interested. I believe in him, the minister. When I stood here, I debated for the macroeconomic factors that are performance of this country in 2020. And I realized something out of it. The business community booked during the COVID because they are supported by this government. Now, this one we should treat very seriously according to him. He said, let me read, briefly, quick. He said, Mr. Speaker, honorable members, he said, total expenditure and net lending are reversed upwards by 217.2 million to 30.3 billion, 6.2% of GDP, reflecting the increase in the current work expenditure by 1.4 million euros to 23.0 billion, 12.3% of GDP. This is to accommodate the increase in subsidies and transfers, covering mainly subsidies to EXA for payment to independent power producers, amounting to 1.4 billion to avoid any immediate increase in electricity tariff. That is one. And it's going further. The amount also includes 243.0 million to be paid to oil marketing companies. As fair subsidies to mitigate the impact of increase in price of petroleum product on our people. I will stop there. Increase in price of petroleum product to our people. You are proposal. Let me tell you. Yeah? Futuristic. Now, if you allow the fuel price to go 50%, SO2, tell me what will happen in Kubola, in Tongo, in Kwendu, in Kokakajama, Gunamayama. Prices will start to increase. These are influential commodities that we need to take care of. SO2, you feel said the minister want for West government money. In the rule of government, a senior government places people at the center of governance. What he has done, he has looked at all the economic analysis. He has moved the people at the center of this crisis. I will feel for the people. You can fool people sometimes, or you can't fool people all the time. If every day there's increase in fuel product, every day there's increase in basic commodities, with confidence we die, people shall demonstrate. We have demonstration in Asia, in Kenya, other for fuel price increase. But in Freetown, in Sierra Leone, we don't have that queues. We have maintained stability in terms of fuel prices because we are subsidizing people-centered economy. We are pro-poor. We are not speaking economic jargons alone, but we are intertwining economic jargons with people's reality. And you can't tell politics, this one, 5%, this is going to be that, GDP of 4% of that. We are tired. That is why we are lambasting NRA. That GST must be collected. And paragraph 45 in this budget, paragraph 45, Mr. Speaker, we are going to monitor the minister to sign that performance contract NRA. But this is not sympathy. I have no sympathy. I have no regret in telling that there are business performance without GST. We are here, we are asking for our welfare to be reviewed. But we will tell you, 74 in our budget. These are the leeway to talk about our budget. Parliamentary budget. Section 74, subsection 4 of the National Constitution. We have no limit to our budget. We just strike compromise. But there's a caveat. The availability of funds. You know, so you think I'm going to sit here talking to the minister, increase our welfare, increase our salary, increase salaries of teachers and nurses, doctors. If they are not performing, they are killing us, Mr. Speaker. They are killing us. So GST, let me tell you, people are conniving. That contract he said he's going to sign, we are going to monitor. I think it's going to be the fall apart after today, because this is a policy statement. We want to see a contract. We will demand Mr. Minister to lay that contract here. And let me tell something to this house, Mr. Minister. Yeah, Mr. Minister. That 3% they are getting. Yeah, finance bill, it will be drawn also. If you don't see that contract, if they are not performing, you will review that one. They should be on benchmark. So because they are getting it to promo, that's why they are behaving that way. And we are only actually, I have sent a notice of motion. Our welfare we are going to discuss, but we are going to be very reasonable with the availability of funds. But that doesn't mean we cannot talk about our welfare. We must talk about our welfare, Mr. Speaker. But we are a very reasonable and rational members of parliament. We will talk about it. Yeah? And that's our constitutional right. You can't take it from us. But if we want to be reasonable, and one set of people, they are enriching themselves, they are ignoring to do the right thing, you are spending money on them, train them. You have bought over 10,000 electric machines, and they are not using it. They are conniving with business people. They have no business to be there. Let us privatize the center of justice. Let us look out for experts. Let's look out for experts. We are here, we receive vehicles. We have to cry, we have to raise up with the Mr. Minister. That, no, three out of our, we pushed. We're here, we are without people. I went to the minister, I said, hey, we have to solve it for. We have to push our way. The opposition leader is talking to people. But we are. Because at the time, it was just a default. They are on recess. Whilst we are working. But you know the worker is, don't you? So while my colleague was on recess, we are busy here working. So when they got only 3 vehicles, over 10 leaders, 20 leaders, like it is with me. And we said, let us, when they come, we will address that. But you have addressed it that we try. But to be very honest, this is not malice. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Minister, I'm not malicious. Everybody knows in this parliament, I'm not a malicious person. I told at the customs, let me let SO2, let me for crime of customs. Just automate the customs, you see. Just automate. Let us automate and see. When you automate, you see. Let me tell you why BSN and others are performing. Yeah? With all due respect to the bank governor, I don't want to mention his name, but I have to. Dr. Stephen is performing because he has institutional memory. I'm not happy. When he came, you look, we passed document that he was calling me every day. Pass that document, pass that document. I took my time to ask myself, where is this man supposed to read the document? When I read the document, I realized that he brings a regulatory mechanism to control the commercial banks. Yes, those deposit funds that was after all. He was not only doing it for World Bank conditionality, but he said, let us control these banks. Today there's a bank that is going down. That is done already. You know what they do? SO2. They rush speed, they take care of the bank. They deploy police money. That is a local bank. And there is a policy that you keep your result there. When you went safely, they took over the bank to protect your unions. This is ingenious bank. So policies are not there because you are there. You in the institution, you have to twist the policies. You have to twist them so that you can control those who you are dealing with. Twist in a positive direction for the interest of the state. So, Mr. Minister, if they cannot fix the GST, why you want to do GST in Ghana? Like because of me. If the customs give you problem, why can't you automate 100%? These are my questions that you need to answer. In summary, you said in 2023, in Wages and Compensation Commission, Compensation Act 2023, you said back to what the minister, I see something in him. Honesty. It's not He's a Holy Ghost father. Holy Ghost father. We passed the wages appropriation Act 2023. If this Mr. Minister is talking about us, we have to review the wages. We are not harmonized. Why do we have the commission? We are not harmonized. Have you looked at that wages compensation commission act? It's so good. One of the problems that we are getting, the disadvantages of certain people, the advantage of certain people, because of salary disparities. We are not addressed that issue. And Mr. Minister is just telling us, if you go to, let me just steal attention so that people can make reference for the edification of the public. Go to paragraph 47. Paragraph 47. He said, in regard, government will continue under the expenditure management measures. Honorable Abukam, every day you blast us for wages. You have ambassaded us, we listen. But there are one way, yes, we increase wages because we want children to meet their expenditure, their basic needs. But certain times, the disparity discourages us. The disparity. And he says, listen to Mr. Minister, he says, in this regard, government will continue, this is on expenditure management. In this regard, government will continue to implement the medium-term wage bill management strategy to prevent overruns in the wage bill. Recruitment and in-year adjustment to salary will be done within the wages bill envelope. The question we ask ourselves, have we harmonized the wages? Why there are two disparities in huge? That's what he's talking about. But he has skillfully put it so that we cannot understand in terms of economic side that we manage the wages bill. No. Let me tell you, Mr. Minister, we have not harmonized it. We have not harmonized it. And your ministry is under questioning for the inconsistencies in wages. I will not even say it here, but you will hear them when it comes to the budget. But let me state, for the first time, the leader of government is it's not the first time. I listen to the crowd of the opposition. Let us force them to come to the table to see how we can harmonize these wages. They are skillfully put it in an economic term, but the fact remains that there is still huge disparity in the wages. So if you are the same killer, because you are Minister of Finance, you are getting blah blah blah, and the other person is there getting blah blah blah. We start to think, is it fair enough? But this minister is very plain. He said we have to review. You know where he put it on our expenditure. Yes, these are things that we have to reckon with. So I thank you, Mr. Minister, thank you, Mr. Speaker, for being so honest with us, for bringing these economic policies, for bringing reality and people center. You said you have to propose. You have not only done it before, but you are about to do it now. And you are subsidizing. Before you are subsidizing. And it's good for you, somebody mentioned it here, about subsidy. How much you are spending much on subsidy. You should state it. Let people know. People wanted to create scarcity. And he said, I will not accept you are the Minister of Trade. He said he will give you the issue. Mr. Speaker, as I stand here, they don't open the fuel station back, 80%. We continue to subsidize on the basic needs of the people. Thank you for bringing us to school. The project is school call. Thank you for the thank you, Honorable Alcaba and team. Our paramount is not here. Thank you very much for the thank you. May the Lord bless us all.
Thank you very much, leader of government business. That was well put. You have also made my day like the leader of the opposition and like the Deputy Speaker. Mr. Minister, can you summarize? Is it possible?
I can. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I want to thank the House for a very spirited debate of the supplementary budget. And as you are all aware, the supplementary budget is a legal and statutory obligation of the ministry, of the minister and the Ministry of Finance and the whole of the executive to ensure that in the course, and it is time bound. It appears as if today is the last day to do that, in fact, by law. Beyond that, we can't. So I am all here to ensure that we fulfill the mandates as provided in the Constitution. So a lot is being said, but I just want to clarify some of the issues that have emerged from the debate. One, really, as we try to fulfill the legal and statutory requirements, another important matter for budget provisions. These are laws that are passed. And when these laws are passed, they are assessed and judged internationally. So when we have changes to those laws that are driven by the assumptions we brought here that informed the House to pass those laws, it is but right that we come back and be frank about them and provide a justification for those adjustments. That's what they call budget credibility of the budget. It assures the credibility of the fiscal framework of the government, which many entities of government, but also international partners, have been involved in negotiating and discussing with us to inform you to pass. So I had said that one of the main reasons is to assure of budget credibility of our fiscal framework as well. And what is underpinning that is the fact that the results that we had in 2025 were very solid. And we had been assessed as having attained macroeconomic stability as a country, where solid indicators were at levels that we think were good for the country. We had created buffers. In fact, what we are doing is we are capitalizing on that buffer to bring these recommendations for adjustments. That's what we did. And it is the buffer that is allowing us to continue to maintain the relative stability that we continue to enjoy as a state. The environment that we find ourselves in the world, we as economists will assess it as a permanent shock, because that shock, we believe, is going to be with us for a time we cannot predict. And I think in our own judgments, even up to 2027 to 2028, if there are no major changes globally around what is happening in the Middle East, we have to sit up very tight as a country to ensure that our own internal policies are actually pronounced or couched or structured in the way that we are able to cushion the impact of those. And that is why we have placed so much attention for us to be able to make sure that our domestic revenue efforts are robust and solid. And the reason is simple, because the West have changed the way they are engaging with the rest of the world. They are actually thinking of funding more of their own domestic resources, spending more on arms and ammunition, increasing their own defense budget, and they are not giving monies to developing countries anymore. Not at the scale at which they used to do. So we have to look internally and make sure that we shore ourselves up, whether from the taxes we collect, which we should, and I really appreciate the passionate posture and position and pronouncements by the leader of government business around robustness in domestic revenue mobilization and the express emphasis on goods and services taxation, which is the engine and the workhorse of taxation, as we all know. So I'm happy that you really did that emphasis, and I want to assure you that what we had agreed with the NRA, which is to ensure that we give them a contract that we clearly set out performance standards for them, and we hold them to fire for minimum 3% that they get. That one is signed, and we are open to come and be answerable to it in the House. So we will restore the revenues that were lost. This, in the course of the half year, some revenues that were lost, but I just want to assure you that compared to 2025, most of the policy pronouncements that we made on tax policies, they are being implemented, and there's a serious movement well, there's some improvement in the revenue collection, there's serious additions. The truth here is that the targets that we had set for 2026, those targets have been affected by economic activities that have been dwindling because of what is happening in the state of Homos. So I just wanted and therefore, we have revised most of the indicators. One of them, so for GDP, for example, we projected that it will only grow by 4% as against 4.5% as a projection. But also an important indicator why we came here, and I have actually explained it in the speech, in the statement that I read. We had projected the barrel of fuel, petroleum product, at $70 per barrel. That's what we hinged all our projections on the entire fiscal framework. Now you all agree with me that the average price, it has gone up to over $120 on average. So movement from 70 to 120 is huge. And for us, we know petroleum products, petroleum products, these are composite commodities. When we use the word composite commodity, that commodity, its price impacts on every other commodity or activity of goods and services in the country. And we are importing that we are not producing here, and our technologies in this country hinge on those products, whether it's the one we do for industries to run, or you do for having energy to run in the country, or even the vehicles that you use. We're using petroleum products to move goods and services in the country. So if you increase the price of goods and services, you begin to see the impact on the general price level in the country. And that manifested very quickly in Sierra Leone between January, February, March, up to June. And that was on top of the policy pronouncement that we did, which we did not anticipate that war. We had from the previous year made adjustments in fuel taxes. Now what we have done in the course of this year, we have protected the fuel taxes, we did not adjust. We did not come back to Parliament to say, we have actually provided these taxes, can you come and revise them? Because we will not be assured of the revenues to be collected. So what we did as a government is to negotiate and ensure that we get the cabinet to give us that, and the Parliament to give us that power. That we will have a provision of about minimum $10 million that will allow us to ensure that we have a subsidy in the petroleum pricing formula. Very transparently put. And then we try to ensure that we place the price of petrol at the level that we believe is consistent with what we think can moderate the shock in the system. So right now, we are monitoring the price of fuel on a daily basis. Sincerely, it is on the high side. And it's been going up, it's way above the 33 leons per litre for petrol or 35 leons per litre for diesel. They are way in the 40s and 45, 46, as I say. So what we are doing as a government is those companies, and all of them, I was asked to pronounce who is benefiting. It is all the oil marketing companies that are in the country that are actually involved in the importation and uplifting and paying taxes fully on the value that is uplifted. That difference between those is what we calculate on a month-by-month basis, we reconcile, and then we pay the subsidy. It is general subsidy that is going to everybody because we believe it is reduced, it is help us reduce the rate at which the general price level will increase. So I just wanted to adjust that. The other important component that we have been talking about is the whole issue of what has changed in the spending. Well, if the subsidy a new form of spending, and we are subsidizing the IPPs as well, it is not only Cap Power, it is Planet Solar, it is CI Energy in Cote d'Ivoire, whom we are trading with. It is all of this, it is Guinea that we are importing fuel from, energy from. All these other IPPs that are helping us have access to energy in the country, we ensure that we subsidize ETSA. Now, because of the rise in the price of petroleum products, we are supposed to adjust the electricity tariff. Because it just doesn't match. But in there, we are providing subsidy just to minimize the impact of this crisis on the general population. That's basically why we came back here to say with those major spending that we are doing, it will distort the budget, so we recalibrate the entire budget. Now, but in 2026, there are very important components that we are going to be expending on. Education is crucial. We've paid already for the half year. Most of those things that have to do with school fees, school feeding, and exam fees for students. That most of what you see in the budget is what is needed for the remainder of the year. So we try to recalibrate on what will be required to pay for the rest of the year values. That's what is in the estimate. And then we adjust the overall budget and come and get legal ratification or approval by Parliament to pass the law. So those adjustments you see for education, we try to maintain. The adjustments you see for census, because census is going to be undertaken this year. We've done a lot of the spending already in investing in the procurement of the machines that will be utilized, but also the preliminary work that has to go into the entire census framing and training and making sure that people are ready to go. We've done most of those spending. The remainder we provision for it so that this census can take place at the end of the year. Equally so, we had front-loaded most of the capital spending for roads in, like I said, the road on the Toke Road. We've done water systems in the country, about 90-95% completed across 6 districts. We funded those roads in Puja, Mbandajuma, all those roads. Those are things that we are taking up that we thought is important, so we adjust because of the seasonality. By the rest of the year, we are not going to spend again. So the adjustments we did in agriculture is also seasonal. If you miss the planting season, no need to worry too much about pumping money there, you're wasting money. So we wanted to really invest in agricultural infrastructure, but the time is past. We have funded most of the people to have access to fertilizer, and they like to be able to ensure that we can have the projected productivity for the year 2026. So those other spending for the development of those other ecologies, agroecological zone, we didn't see the need to factor it this year, so it was an area for effective adjustments. So, but for next year, we're going to start, after the approval now, we're going to start discussing 2027 budgets immediately. So you provision for next year and effectively be able to do it. So that's what we have been doing. So I hear concerns around health, I hear concerns around agriculture dropping. Education we maintained to ensure that we don't fall short, and I hear concerns around where is it that we are spending on other sectors. So that's what is driving that. There were things that I had to explain so that at least we understand exactly what we're trying to do. In terms of protection, the budget itself, we try to do things that we believe are important for the private sector. So the trade financing facilities that we are bringing into stream is to ensure that the private sector can have adequate supply of essential goods in the country at prices that are reasonable. It's one of the ways to ensure that you are not exposed to the kind of shock that will be for certain goods. So rice, flour, sugar, wheat, all of these things, and then frozen food that are needed in the system. These are resources that are available to selected, controlled by government to a large extent, but we have private sector bringing them in through collateral management structures. So that at least we're able to maintain proper price. We do it for those goods, we do it also for petroleum products. And for these things, when we bring them, we are playing a fair playing field for all the petroleum sector entities that are operating in the country, so that we are not discriminating against as well. We will do for fertilizer as well. So this is really driven largely by private sector, and to ensure that we are able to stabilize the economy. You spoke a lot about what is happening at the port, and we take it in good gesture. Because of there is a dwindling in trade activities internationally, because of constraints with shipments. But one fact that we all need to be aware of, our port is too small for this economy. That's the truth. Deep Water Key is too small for Sierra Leone as an economy. The country needs a new port. The country needs a new port. We need more than even one new port. One that will allow us to export mineral bulk at scale, and the other one that will be for other forms of economic activities to run the economy. We need a new port. That port is congested. But the other important thing is, because the containers that are coming, they are for re-exports, they are not destined for here, they are not yielding a lot of tax revenue for us. This is really the truth. Because we are under the ETLS structures, we are actually a country that is fully implementing the ECOWAS protocols around trade liberalization and the movement and re-exports in our corridors. So that volume is actually affecting what is happening at our ports. And the turnover is very, very, very small. There are other internal problems that may happen in the way the entire port architecture is managed, whether between customs or ports or the police and all these other guys that are operating in there, which is an administrative issue that must be taken up by us. But the port, I must say, is congested, small. For this economy, we need a new port as a nation. And the government is working on that. So I just want us to know all that. The issue around duty waivers, I just want to give assurances in the way duty waiver is managed in the country. It is an automated thing. Duty management is electronically, digitally done. It is guided by law. They are done by law and by ratified agreements. There's very limited discretion that is in it. So most of what happens with concessions or waivers that are given, they are really largely justified. Now what we need to do, and there is also a new law that was passed here around waivers and concession that must be given. That's what is guiding what we do. And that discipline on limiting discretion, that room is really very small. So we have given a lot legally as a government through ratified agreements and by law, sector after sector, waivers, because we think that's how we want to spend. That's called tax expenditure. That's how we want to spend revenue that's supposed to come in as taxes. We are spending them that way as a way to boost activities or help certain sectors to be functional in the government. So I have listened very carefully. There are other things they asked me to provide updates on. Very quickly, I'll come to that. Energy sector. We subsidize the energy sector, but there's a lot of reforms that we expect to materialize. They've been slow to come, but they will get there. EDSA is going to be privatized. And we've actually almost concluded on the procurement of the services of an independent private sector concessionaire that will take over EDSA. And they will ensure that there's a complete fundamental reform in the way EDSA becomes financially viable. So that's going to be done, and that will change everything. The accounting structures on EDSA will set up an independent collection entity, accounting entity, that manages the access to resources collection, but also payments. So all IPPs and everybody operating in that sector, that's another reform that we're undertaking. And for all the IPPs, like I said, we are paying all the IPPs. It's not just Sky Power. We are paying all of them. That's what the government is subsidizing. As I speak, we're paying KPS every month. We pay BII for the solar. We are paying Côte d'Ivoire. We are paying, like I said, we are paying Guinea as well. Let me explain this whole issue around the way we finance our deficit and the impact of, or the importance of us having our own domestic economy, the structure of it being a sector that we rely on to run the country. And I must say that we have achieved fiscal consolidation in the at the end of 2025. It's an effort that we have been doing in the last 3 years. And we attained primary surpluses to the tune of 7 percentage points of GDP. If it's in that game that we're using resources to subsidize and absorb the shock that we are currently going through. Our deficit level that used to be around 11, 10, 9 percentage points of GDP, excluding grants, was supposed to be around 4.4% this year that we projected. The other adjustment we did is to ensure that it's up to 5.1%. That's very solid. When you include grants, we are at 2.4, 2.3% points of GDP. I should be very concrete on that number, which is a very solid level with primary surplus. Meaning, on your own effort, can you run your government, excluding paying external debt? And I'm saying that we run the government with a surplus. And that's what we have been trying to do as a government. We're disciplined enough to say, on the revenue you collect, are you able to run your administration after you are taking care of debt service? We are doing it with surplus. This is the discipline we have attained. Now, how are we financing? For any shortfall that you have between revenue and expenditure, you're financing that deficit through two means, domestic and external. What we are doing in the country is that we are focusing less on external modalities of financing our deficits, and because most of that financing that comes from outside is costly and is exposed to different type of risk, exchange rates and the like. We're using the domestic economy to mobilize the revenue required from the banking system or savings from banks and individuals to do what? To provision for us to have access to resources that we can use to fund government needs. That's what we are doing. Is that bad? No. It has to be done in a responsible way. When we take that debt, what are you spending on? I must assure you that most of that debt that we are taking, it's not for paying salaries, because salaries can be paid for by the revenue generated by NRA. So anytime we take that, we are actually investing in productive activities that we think are innovatively, in my view. That's what we will normally say, are you paying for bankable investments? So most of the things we are doing in the country, if we pay infrastructure, we have to ensure that the infrastructure is not charity infrastructure anymore. If you're doing road, they must toll the road. When you're riding on the road, you must pay for it so that we are able to maintain the road. It's the same thing we are doing in the water system. We must make sure that the water system, people pay for water with appropriate tariff. It's the same thing for energy. We should ensure that energy subsidy is minimized, but we need proper manager or concessionaire of the energy sector so that the tariff structure are adjusted appropriately. So debt in the system is not bad. And if our banking system is very well capitalized, and the governor is here, I am very much informed that the banking system in Sierra Leone is well capitalized and profitable, and they have capital to do what? To participate and intermediate in the economy, where such that both private sector and government can have access to the resources required to meet their needs. We're not suffocating private sector. If anything, last year, like I said in the statement, credit to the private sector increased by 48%, after it had increased by 25% the previous year. We are not suffocating them. It tells you the banking system is well capitalized to fund this economy to be able to do something. So if you're a private businessman, you have a very, very solid investment proposal. These banks are ready to give you money. So I just want to encourage, that's why when the government goes there, because the government, they have seen that our macro fundamentals are solid, they are betting on us at even far much more reasonable rates that we can. Even for the foreign currency, we are able to get foreign exchange debts in foreign currency at 9.5% as a government. That's how they bet us. In the domestic economy, it's about 17% that they are giving government debts for. So that's very solid. So I just want to allay your fears that even the debt levels in the government, the debt levels are reasonably managed. We just did an assessment of the debt situation of the government. We are at still high risk of debt distress, but our debt is sustainable. Over the year, towards the end of the year, when we do the assessment, there's a transaction we are going to do or some kind of recalibration we'll do with the central bank. We're trying to ensure that we reprofile our exposure, especially in domestic fronts. That will leave us with a moderate risk of debt distress assessment. So, there was something that came around contingencies. Now, the contingency is deliberately provided for in the budget as a shock absorber because we cannot predict how this year is going to end. So after we have provided for all the allocation, that's a buffer that is created within the budget. It's not a slush fund, it's not anything, it's a room, it's a contingency. It's a room provided because we are living in an uncertain environment. And we cannot predict the degree to which certain shocks will take place. So we provided it in there. And that's why we came to seek the authorization from you to be able to have the powers to use them when problem comes, we trigger and have access to these resources. It could be for increasing the subsidy, it can be for any other shock that comes beyond what we anticipate. So that's what we put in it, and contingency are part of the law. It's part of the PFM Act, and we ask Kambia to ask for it. As a hearty discussion around the ECOWAS posting. There was a really hearty discussion around the ECOWAS, and I've been listening to it even in the radios. I just want to lay that to rest. It is this Honorable House that actually ratified the Public-Private Partnership Agreement that accorded SUA, an FB group, that has a concession in that jurisdiction, the airport jurisdiction, to do what? To undertake that particular infrastructure investment and do it jointly with the government. What the government did is to guarantee, we guaranteed through lease form of agreement. We guarantee leasing that conference facility and ensure that we can be able to provide a lease value on an annual basis for that conference facility to ensure that they have access to the loan. And we JV the property, after we pay for the loan, as a joint venture modalities for managing the facility, brings that value to government after we have paid out the loan in 8 years. So that's what we are doing. And they have built it in record time with no penny on the books of government. No penny. That's completely different from what we did prior to now when we are hosting big conferences. There's no penny on the book of government. The only thing the government assured is that we will be able to provide, and these are innovative ways of structuring investment with private sector that does not put the government in bad footing. That's basically what it is. If you have future flows that they can rely on, will be available to ensure that they can pay off a debt. The debt is not written in your book, the balance sheet of the private sector is on the book, it's in the bank, and they use it, you get access to the loan. So it is the credibility of the government and the credibility of the partner that allow us to have access to that resource and we're able to do rapidly. Not a penny from our budget. So I just want people to be assured that that's what we must be doing in the government. Same as we are doing in the ports, same as we are doing in the airports, it did not stress the government. So most of the investments that are taking place in the ports that are done by Bolloré and the like, these are public-private partnership structures. So we just have to move very fast in our understanding of how public services or public infrastructures are delivered for government in modern day 21st century. And we should move very fast in that sense. We are doing it very cautiously. And I see a lot of opportunities. There's a very hearty debate coming around our mineral sector. And we're all here. Sierra Leone is a mining country. We're a mining country. That's the only thing that brings the largest amount of foreign exchange into the state is mining. The danger is this, and we should correct it as quickly as possible. The government is not participating effectively. The government must participate. That's the only way you are going to be assured of cash flow. If they are in the hands of private sector, you are relying on having 3% royalties, you are not going to change this game. So, they are not going to change it. They are not going to serious. So, we must participate, we must have state commercial participation in mining with boldness. There's no magic that they are doing. So, I don't know what's stopping that, but I'm saying that let us be bold as a nation and step forward and make sure that what this soil is our soil.
Mr. Minister, come with me.
The soil is our soil, and they are cutting it away, and we are relying on royalties. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. We are so exposed. We are so exposed, we should move on so quickly. We are wasting time. Yeah, we are wasting time, and we should move on so quickly. We're not going to be giving grants and handouts anymore abroad. So, I just want that to be the case, and yes. So, with that said, Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I move I move that the bill entitled the Supplementary Appropriation Act 2026 being an act to make revisions and supplementary provisions for the services of Sierra Leone for the year 2026 be read the second time.
Honourable members, the question is that the bill entitled the Supplementary Appropriation Act 2026 be read the second time. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
The bill entitled the Supplementary Appropriation Act 2026 being an act to make revisions and supplementary provision for the services of Sierra Leone for the year 2026 has been read the second time.
Proceed.
Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I now move that the bill be read the third time.
Sorry. Yes, proceed. Proceed.
I now move that the bill be read the third time and passed into law.
Honourable members, the question is that the bill entitled the Supplementary Appropriation Act 2026 be read the third time and passed into law. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
The bill entitled the Supplementary Appropriation Act 2026 being an act to make revisions and supplementary provision for the services of Sierra Leone for the year 2026 has been read the third time and passed into law.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister. You may leave. Government business? Yes, government business.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, honorable members. Mr. Speaker, with so long, the Minister of Finance, I wanted to move the motion first, page by page. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I stand on SO 51 to take resolutions of the House so that sitting can be commenced on Monday. I so move, Mr. Speaker, SO 51.
Any seconder?
I so second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Motion moved by the Leader of Government Business has been carried.
Announcements. Honourable members, this sitting is adjourned to Monday, the 3rd of August at 10 a.m. prompt.
Download and register My AfriCell Sierra Leone new app today and enjoy 1 GB data for free. Valid for 3 days only. To download the app, scan the QR code or download it directly from Google Play Store or App Store. Download now and get the My AfriCell Sierra Leone new app features. For more info, call 111.
Why you just smile for yourself so?
Ogwambon, that boku ting for the bambai, don't.
Will you self talk now, yeah?
Hey, nothing no sweet like. Where you don't they keep for the bambai. Then you still get chance for take loan, panda money where you don't they keep for the bambai.
So you do. As you boss pan jackpot so. You don't make it pull payable.
This is past jackpots. Where I tell you say, Ogdombon, Amina, I don't qualify for take loan. You remember that meeting when Nasit been keep for waiting at the informal sector?
Wait. That boku talk meeting.
Not to Bokutoko. It don't happen.
Wait till it happen. If you know talk, they go inside.
Hey, you know say Nasit been promise we say, Nasit not there for